start recording. Appreciate you guys being here. This is the feature release preview for Q4 2021. So last update for this year. And we're just going to kind of go over some things to expect in the next update. I'll leave some time for questions, but if you don't already know, I'm Stephanie Pepper with e-manageONE. I'm the implementation director here. I do have Ravi in the chat room manning that. So if you guys have questions, feel free to chat those questions in as we go through some items, and I will leave some time at the end for some Q&A for anything that you guys might have questions on at the end. First things first, as always, administrators, it's really important that you guys go in and download your default grid layout. So from your file menu inside of the regular eManage application, download your default grid layouts after the update. If we did make any changes to any of our default grids or added some new fields and things like that, you'll always want to make sure to do that after every update to ensure you've got the latest and greatest. This is going to be a pretty unique update, not what you guys are used to in the past when you just get the update window and you click update and it kind of gives you a little bit of release notes. This one will not have release notes, and it's actually going to come out as looks like an install program. So kind of like the installation of eManage. You're just going to agree to that and continue. And what it's doing is actually just uninstalling eManage in the background and reinstalling, if I understand correctly, so that you guys don't have to do that. But there have been some big changes to the way that we structure the program and whatnot. So you're going to want to make sure to do that. So the update will be unique, will be different. Just hit agree and continue and let it do its thing. If you want to double check that you are on the latest and greatest, and if you want to read the release notes, a lot of what we're going through today, go to your help file after you take the installation, the reinstallation / update. That's actually going to update you guys. If you want to double check to make sure that you're on that one, you can go to your help menu, about eManage / release notes, and it should give you, you should be on version 10012. Okay, 10012, and it should say that there and give you some release notes. Okay, so yeah, call into support if you have any issues, but don't freak out when the update looks a little bit different this time around. All right, let's get into it. So we're going to start with some enhancements, lots of enhancements on this update. So we're going to start off with some simple ones. We do now have the ability to adjust the bill to company directly in your customer invoice screen, the update project invoice screen. So it's circled here. You can see now you guys don't have to stop down, go into order entry, drag and drop it, go back into the invoice. So hopefully my accounting folks are really excited about that one. I know we are. You could simply just click that drop down, change the bill to on the invoice, the attention to as well, and you're good to go. We did also enhance the action item submission window. When you do submit an action item, you're going to get a little green pop-up, kind of like what you're seeing on my screen here, and it'll say action item saved successfully. We've had a pain point in the past where people think that they didn't submit the action item and they resubmit it and then resubmit it again. You're going to get a little notification that it was submitted successfully. It will pop down, like appear and then disappear, giving you the ability to send another action item if necessary. You can it still acts the same way. It still does the same thing, wipes out all of your notes, wipes out your prerequisites, but it's just now going to say action item saved successfully. More enhancements here. We did come up with an alternative report to the BOM report. So when you go into your bill of materials and you click print BOM, not the quote, but you're printing the BOM to get an itemized list of what's on that bill of materials on that quote. This is really helpful for special price requests, especially for like Hayworth, maybe Herman Miller dealers. It's just going to break down your discounting per MFG code, from what I understand. If you're interested in learning more about that alternative report, definitely reach out to us and we can get you some additional notes on how to get that activated in your database. We also added a cloud user check. So anybody who's on our cloud service at this point, before you could just add as many users as you want. And that's not how our cloud subscription works. It's more of a subscription based. So for our cloud users, you're going to get a notification that pops up telling you how many license and users you already have, and if you want to add more, to reach out to support. So there's a stop in place there at this point. From the Today panel, your active and expired quotes, grids, or reports, you can now double click on any of the quotes and it'll open up the project. Wasn't doing that before, so just making it a little bit more user friendly. You could double click on your quote and it'll open up the project. We've made some enhancements to the human resources module. There was a picture issue. We did address that, so you could upload your pictures of your employees to their employee file and employee record. But more importantly, there was a little pain point there when it came to, I'm just going to mute everybody and you guys just going to reduce that background noise. There was a pain point in the employee manager where it was showing all of the employees, regardless of if they were terminated or not. So now when you hit that drop down and you start searching for employees, it'll only show you active employees who are still with you. And then you have the ability to click that include terminated checkbox if you want to see inactive employees. So it's just simplified that, making it a little bit more user friendly. More enhancements here. We have updated our marketing campaign window. The menu has moved. So once you get the update, it is going to be in the main tool menu instead of the tools menu now. So main tool menu, marketing campaign manager. I'm just keeping everybody muted. So if you'll keep yourself muted for that background noise, and then we'll leave some time to unmute at the end of the session for questions. And so the marketing campaign window has been moved. It has been enhanced. Oh. I don't know how this is happening. All right, guys, give me 1 second. Someone's marking all over my screen. Disable. I've never seen that before. I'm actually going to lock our meeting. Time for people to get in here. Sorry about that, guys. Don't know who's doing that, but get out of there. So our marketing campaign window has been moved and it has been enhanced. There are some visual metrics at the bottom now of the marketing campaign window. It does open up in its own tab, its own large window, so that you guys can see a little bit more information in that window, manage your marketing campaigns, marketing efforts a little bit better. And then the visual metrics are really cool. You can see kind of which leads are doing really well, which marketing efforts are doing really well, which ones are converting to jobs and projects and things like that. We have also improved the forecasting in the current opportunities grid. So we've added an estimated forecast column. So like this is really important. This was a pain point that a lot of our dealers were experiencing is how do we get the most accurate forecast, okay, for open opportunities. Our forecast value is basically a formula to calculate the approximate value minus the booked value. So it's going to give you a much more accurate open opportunity value. If it's already been booked, we don't really need to see that value. That becomes a part of a different bucket that we're using. So inside the current opportunities, there's going to be a forecast value column. So if you have some default grid layouts, you're going to want to add that in to your grid layouts, the forecast value column. Just to kind of reiterate what the other ones mean, this is something that has been changed this year, I believe. So just to kind of reiterate what these values mean, approximate value is either the manually entered value, so right when you create the project, you enter in a value, or if you have quotes on it, it's summing up all of your quotes. So again, that value is not your forecasted value. That could have some booked quotes in that value. So it's more of what the total value of the project is. There is also a column called estimated sale, which is the sum of quotes not yet booked. So it's close to the forecast value, but the problem is this is coming straight from quotes. And so when you enter in that not made up number, but that approximate value that you give the job previous to quotes, that value was not included in this column. So this really is now your new forecasted value. I'm going to kind of give a little shameless plug here for our help guide. We do have a very extensive set of definitions to all of these grids. So if you're curious what some of these mean, I'm talking about them now, but if you're wanting to know further what some of these other columns mean, we've got a full list of definitions per grid. Okay, so especially the current opportunities, if you want to know what each one of these columns actually are defined as, definitely take a look at our help guide. I'm going to plug that again later. Man, whoever wrote all over my thing. I'm going to find out who that was. I don't know how to get rid of it now. Sorry about the little squiggles. Some more enhancements here. Asset manager. We highly recommend that you guys take a look at this if you haven't yet. The asset manager has been really enhanced. There's lots of UI updates taking place on that. But now you can actually add an image, which is really nice. We have a carbon copy feature, so you can actually duplicate an asset really quickly. So those laptops that you buy the same laptop, maybe you duplicate it and just change over a couple of fields of information. Trucks, you can keep track of your trucks in the asset, any internal assets, but you can also manage external assets here too. Maybe some demo chairs, things like that. It's a great place to manage those types of things. You can check in and out. So you can go in here and kind of figure out where something's been checked out to and check it back in when it comes back into your possession. You can attach documents now, notes, follow-ups. So definitely some more features added to the asset manager. Again, help guide. There's a section on the asset manager that you can definitely go take a peek at to get you started on how to add assets and manage your assets. We've also made some adjustments to the sales leads. Just trying to keep up with the UI and make sure that it's kind of aligning with all of our other changes that we've made and like the project and the contact and customer windows. So those changes we've been making, we've also applied to the leads panel at this point, which is really, really nice. It will also pop out in its own panel now, its own big, large grid. So when you click on leads at the bottom on your toolbar at the bottom in eManage, if you have any sales leads, it'll open in a large window now so that you can manage your leads a little bit easier. But yeah, lots of UI updates. You now have the ability to add notes, follow-ups, schedule an appointment, all right here within this window. And then you'll also have the ability to view it very, very easily. So down here where someone squiggled on my page, you can see the follow-ups down here. And you can click on notes, events, and you can actually see scheduled appointments, notes for that lead or that contact record, and any follow-ups that you need to do for that lead. So just managing the leads a lot easier. You can send emails directly from this window now. Open up the contact record, open up the company record, schedule appointments. So a lot of enhancements to the lead records. Installation calendar. Again, we're just doing some more enhancements here. Now there was a pain point for our operations departments where they were going in and creating a new work order or delivery ticket and adding product on. And it's difficult without playing detective to find out if that product has been added on to a previous work order. So this is great. It's just visibility to see it. It's not an actual editable field or anything like that, but the column header is called on other install items. that field is now called on other install items. So you will have to add it in to your implementation item window when you're on the installation items tab. Can't see, it's kind of hidden there. But this will show you that it's been previously, there will be a little checkbox there. I do recommend making this a checkbox, the display. Anytime you need help with any of these things that we're going over, that's what we're here for. So make sure you reach out to us. You can reach out to me directly on any of these types of items that you need help adding into your views. I'm happy to help, but this is really great. Now you're able to see, oh, that item was added on to another work order, must not need to be delivered here. This is just a start. I think we're going to enhance this even further, but at least now we have some type of visibility. Also, it's going to remove it completely from this drop down if all the items have been added to that a work order previously for that acknowledgement or PO. If you click this little drop down, it shows you what acknowledgements you have, or if you flip this to show POs, it'll show you what POs you have. It will not show up in this drop down at all if everything's been added for that acknowledgement or PO previously. Another pain point that we've been made aware of. I had a customer recently come to me, and they have their designers meet on a weekly basis to talk about what they've got on their plates, and they needed an ability to mark which action items need to be tackled sooner than later. So we added an urgent field to the actions to perform tab. So again, another field that you will have to add on to your default grid layout if you'd like to use it. It's for the people receiving action items to better prioritize. So you can mark which ones are urgent, which ones need to be addressed first. Again, if you need any help getting these columns into these grids, let us know. If you have placed any orders in the past, you know probably about this strange error message. You must check items in the tree. That pops up when you're in the Create POs module. We've just adjusted that message to make a bit more sense. That just didn't make a whole lot of sense to everybody. Made sense to us, but it didn't make sense to everybody else. So we've adjusted that. What that basically means is that you've already got purchase orders created for that order. So it'll give you a pop-up message to just go and check your View POs module, and you should already have those purchase orders created. So we've just adjusted that message. I am happy to announce that we are completely compatible with QuickBooks 2022. We'll probably be sending out a notice to our accountants at every dealer to let them know that they are definitely able to upgrade to 2022 if they'd like. Nothing else to be said there other than we're compatible. We have made some order entry module updates. This is huge for me. I feel like this window just was a little bit bonkers. So this window, we've just kind of organized it to make a little bit more sense to flow with how you'd actually fill out this form. So it's going to be a big change for some of you who are used to being in this order entry module, but it's not that big of a deal. It's not scary. We just moved some things around. So your orders are up top, kind of like what you would typically see in your invoicing module and your commission modules. So just making it consistent throughout the program, but it also makes more sense as far as how you actually fill out this form. So you name your order, you highlight your order, you set your quote, then you fill out all these different drop downs. So we've kind of moved some things around that auto fill in to the right side. So again, just makes more sense for how you actually enter information into this screen. So just move some items around in the order entry module. We are fully integrated with version 5 at this point. There are some known issues, which we will go over, but as far as what we can do on our end, being integrated with version 5, we are fully integrated. So on this next update in your user settings, it's really simple to activate it. If you're used to version 4, you would have to actually do your file path. You'd have to copy and paste a file. So there was some more intense setup required for version 4. For version 5, it's super simple. Get into your user settings, flip this drop down to version 5, and you're pretty much done. Okay. With that being said, you can still run version 4. You can run them both in parallels if you want. Doesn't matter to us, but this basically activates the catalog reader version 5 inside of e-manage. So that's what you're seeing here is this catalog reader. It has had some UI updates. They've been doing a great job, Project Spec, just enhancing the UI of the entire program. It's much more modern, easier to use, more user friendly. So this is a quick preview of what that catalog reader looks like in our program. So when you open it up, there's the ability to now search for parts really easily. In version 4, you could do that as well, but it wasn't as visible, I guess, or as easy to use. So you can search for part numbers really easily. And another enhancement that they made is when you actually install the catalogs for the manufacturers that you do business with, it auto installs the symbols as well, from my understanding. There are some known issues though. So as of right now, unfortunately, the images are not coming in from the catalog reader within e-manage. Okay, so if you do specify out directly in Project Spec version 5 and you import that file, import that CIF file into e-manage, it'll come in with the images. Okay, but as far as what we have right now, and we are working closely with Project Spec to see if we can get that feature working again as quickly as possible. But a little bit out of our control, some of this stuff. Something that is in our control, there is another known issue that we are working on. You can't use the edit feature. So if you're not familiar with editing documents within eManage, there is a new video out on our YouTube channel. You can edit documents. This happens a lot with CIF files if you are using that feature. But as of right now, for version 5, we cannot edit those. So if Project Spec version 5 is your default program for a .cif, then it'll open it up in version 5 and it won't save back into eManage as far as the editing document feature in eManage goes. If you want to learn more about that, go check out that video. But we're working on that. Project Spec changed their file versions to .pmx, so that's really thrown a loophole for us. So we're working on it. There's one other issue that Project Matrix is aware of. Project Spec, Project Matrix, whatever you call it. They are working on an XML import issue that we're having. When you import an XML into eManage, it's erroring their codes, MFG codes or catalog codes, vendor ref codes, whatever you want to call them. Those codes that are assigned to the line items, they're getting they're not correct. This is just for XML. So if you export it as a CIF file and import the CIF file into eManage from version 5, there should be no issues there. And the catalog reader does work. It's just lacking the images right now. Right, this is a big one. We are releasing a new feature, accrued liabilities. So this is for my accounting folks. If you are on the call, if there are further questions after we review this, if a lot of questions start coming in, I'm going to do a webinar specifically on this. So if you're not accounting, hopefully this doesn't bore you to death, but I think this feature is really, really cool. I mean, I've never seen anything like this in any other program, so I'm pretty excited about it. But it's basically a way to now account for unbilled costs. That's as simple as I can put it. When we are creating final customer invoices and you don't have all of your costs accounted for, it will now recognize that and post that amount to an accrued liabilities account. So this visual here is just really about the buckets that we put everything in. That's kind of in a nutshell, like what we're doing in accounting is just making sure everything's in the right bucket so that when we go to do reporting and reconciling, that everything's in the right bucket, right? So what we're doing here is accounting for all of our costs, including accrued liabilities, so that we can report as accurately as possible what our profit and loss is. Okay, so we're just accounting for unbilled costs. So a little example here is if we're recognizing $200,000 in revenue and we had $100,000 in cost, estimated cost. So it came from my bill of materials. I created a purchase order that has an estimated cost of $100,000. Maybe I even have an acknowledgement, but I don't have a bill yet. And we're billing for 100% to the customer. Well, and maybe I've already posted some to WIP. So the WIP COGS feature is still going to work out the same exact way, but maybe I've already got $75,000 posted to WIP. So there's still $25,000 in estimated cost that I'm not accounting for. So what it's going to do is just post that to your accrued liabilities account. What happens is it's just going to, when we do add the bill in, the vendor bill, it's just going to deduct from the accrued liabilities and automatically add it to your cost of goods sold. Hopefully that makes sense. It's just, in a nutshell, we're just accounting for unbilled costs. But there could be some exceptions that take place. So let's talk about a few of those exceptions. Progress billing, when you actually invoice for a percentage of revenue. So let's say we're doing a 50% billing for a total revenue of $200,000, and we have $100,000 in estimated cost, no cost accounted for yet. So all we're doing is creating a progress billing for 50%. So it's going to account for $100,000 to the appropriate account, so whatever sales account. Of course, it's the freight and all that. It's going to break it down like it usually does, but we're accounting for 50% of our revenue, and there's no cost yet accounted for, so no vendor bills. It's going to automatically apply $50,000 to your accrued liabilities account. So now we're balancing our revenue and our costs at the same time, recognizing that at the same time. Another exception is a same scenario. We're doing 50% billing, same numbers, but in this example, we've already accounted for 50,000 in WIP. Well, it's going to move it. Simple, just moves it from WIP to COGS. No accrued liabilities because we're only recognizing 50%. So because we've already done $50,000 in estimated costs, we've accounted for that, then we're good to go. The vendor bill comes in after the final invoice. It just, again, is going to reduce the accrued liabilities first, then add the actual amount straight to your cost of goods sold account. So again, just to kind of make it as simple as possible, we're just accounting for unbilled costs. Here's the deal. There are some checks and balances that we have to put in place to make this feature work seamlessly and to prevent some reporting issues. So especially when it comes to your cash flow management grid from your Today panel, we've got to make sure that we're applying our bills to actual items. If we don't apply our bills to actual items, then it's just going to think that that is unbilled cost, which could really throw some things out of whack. So the stops that we're putting in place has to do with this setting here on your vendor records. Vendor sends acknowledgements, that checkbox there. If that is checked, e-manage is no longer going to allow you to add an invoice without applying it to an acknowledgement. Okay, same thing in reverse. If this is not checked, e-manage is no longer going to allow you to add a vendor bill without applying it to actual purchase order items. So it's not an acknowledgement, because if you don't have that checked, it doesn't have any acknowledgements here, and it knows you're trying to apply it to PO items. So again, putting some stops in place to prevent this unbilled cost, or from the system thinking you have unbilled costs. Even if you don't do the accrued liabilities feature, you're still going to have an area that shows unbilled costs, and you have it right now. The problem is people are going in and applying bills to nothing. And so how does eManage know how to reconcile that? So you have to apply bills to an item, either an acknowledgement or the PO items if you don't get acknowledgements from that vendor. Okay. Inventory. I know everyone's really excited about this. I hope it's finally here. It's finally ready. There are some things that it can do, and there are some things that it can't do. So we're just going to review again another back to the accrued liabilities, by the way, to activate this and all that good stuff, and some more information, some more details. All of it's in the health guide, so we've already documented some of it. I think it could use some enhancements. I think I might do a video or two if you prefer to watch a video to learn some of these new features. Maybe we'll do a webinar specifically on those items, but it is at least documented so you guys can get started. Once this update comes out, you can run with these things. Got something to rely on to activate these different features. So inventory, it's in there. What it does, you can create multiple warehouses. You can bin locate products. Okay, so you can create where it doesn't have to necessarily be a warehouse. It could be a location. Maybe you could create a location for a specific customer. Maybe you inventory product for a specific customer. You can create a warehouse for that customer. So you can create multiple locations, multiple warehouses. Maybe you have a subcontractor warehouse, whatever it might be. You can view the inventory, of course. So you can view what's available, what's reserved, what's allocated, etc. You can view the history. We have the ability to set minimum maximums on line items. So in the inventory module, you can actually go in and say on minimum, at minimum on hand, I always want to have at least 5. And at max, we don't want to have more than 10. And what eManage will do is recommend what you should order based on those minimum maximums. So obviously you can place orders. So with that being said, no longer, I know some of you who are on this call probably have like a project that you order your showroom product for, or stock orders, things like that, product that you're ordering for internal. You can actually order that through the inventory module now, so you don't have to keep up with a project and manage that project. You can just simply do it in the inventory module. You can acknowledge it and receive it still. You can actually push those over to QuickBooks into the correct account, the general ledger account. You can quote and reserve. So here you can see in the bill of materials, you can flip that search for, that find from, to inventory, and it'll actually list all of your inventory out so you can see what's available. You can also right click on your BOM level, so the very bottom level, past your option, past your phase, all the way down. You can right click on that and add from search and access your inventory from that module as well. Again, in our help guide, we're going to have a extensive amount of instructions and guides. You guys can go take a look at that. But this is just a kind of overview of what you can and can't do. But yeah, you can view that inventory from the quote your customers for something that you have in-house, process those orders, and of course, account for it in invoicing. What it doesn't do, there are no web services currently. So for my dealers that are aligned with those manufacturers that have web services, Haworth, Herman Miller, so on and so forth, you can create a purchase order for inventory, but you can't process it through your web services just yet. It is on our roadmap, and we will be doing that at some point. And we also don't have barcoding. Not sure that that's ever going to be on our roadmap. We don't really want to become an inventory system, but we do want you to be able to manage it. You want to take it to that level, maybe we could talk about it. Let's have those conversations, of course, but as of right now, it's not. We also don't have types where you can assign like what's new, used, refurbished. We think that that will be really helpful. And so that is on our roadmap to enhance that feature. last slide, and then we'll address some questions, hopefully, that you guys might have, or let you guys go. But some issues, lots of issues resolved, little things. We're continuing to just squash bugs and issues that you guys might have. So keep communicating those to us. Communication is so important so that we can prioritize what you guys got going on, your pain points and whatnot. So yeah, some issues resolved as far as where the in the project there was an issue for calculating auto part templates. There was an issue with calculating on other auto part values, so that's been addressed in this update. Acknowledgements, we added the planned ship to date. Planned ship date to apply to acknowledge ship date for Hayworth Web Services. So they use the planned ship date, but most of the time we're using the acknowledged ship date on all of our other manufacturers. So for reporting purposes and planning purposes, to see that date in the same field as their other items is a little bit helpful. In the bill of materials, when importing into the bill of materials, product type and parts category are definitely required now whenever e-manage doesn't recognize the parts. So that little window that pops up on the bottom when you're importing into your bill of materials and it says, whoa, what are these parts? There's no code for it, or we just don't recognize that part. It's not set up in your coding system. If you do use the step 1, step 2, step 3, it no longer will allow you to apply those settings without filling in a product type and parts category. A little safety feature there. It looked like it was required before, but we found out that it was actually allowing people to skip past it. So that's been addressed. In the install calendar, there's a search where you can search your calendar, the project number, to find where it's at on the installation calendar. That's been fixed. It's really nice. It will only go to the first one. So if you have multiple items for that calendar, if you have multiple items for that job, it's going to the first one right now. We'll enhance that at some point, I'm sure of it. As far as reporting goes, in the open deposit invoices in the today panel, it was showing quotes that were not marked as active and most likely. So it was just showing deposit invoices regardless of it being marked as active or most likely. So now it's only showing active quotes, most likely quotes that have deposit invoices on them. I don't know if you guys know about that feature, but it does come out of the open deposit invoices when the deposit's actually been applied. So it's a great way to keep track of what deposits have been requested as far as customers go. Marketing campaigns, there was a little reporting error there, so that's been corrected. In accounting, we went over that, but I just wanted to reiterate that when you do add a vendor bill, if there's no customer invoice with the bill type of final, all costs go to WIP. If there is a customer invoice marked as final and it's been fully invoiced, it'll go to COGS. So it was previously looking to backlog dollars and there was an issue there. So that bill type on your customer invoice has never been so important. So make sure that you're choosing final when it truly is the final. If it's a progress bill, choose progress. And then that check in place to prevent, now there's also a check in place to prevent saving a vendor bill when the full amount has not been applied. So when you go in and add a vendor invoice and it's assigning the accounts and the numbers, so it puts $50 to WIP freight and $50 to WIP furniture. If there's still $50, you put an amount in of $150 for that bill, there's still $50 remaining and it hasn't been coded to the correct account, then it's going to give you a warning. Leads, there was a small fix there when we updated the leads module. The decision date is no longer required and it will remain blank when it's converted to a project if it's not filled in. So before, if you didn't fill it in, it put in some weird date, like something 1900. We're not in the 1900s. So anyway, the decision dates have been addressed as far as leads go when you're converting them. Action items, they're the completion task now follow the priority field. So if you're an admin and you set your priority on the completion task, they'll show up in order of how you prioritize them in the administrator application. And if you check that you did a completion task and you didn't mean to, you can now uncheck it. Before you could not uncheck it. It just always thought you've completed it and you said you did, and that's that. So now you can actually uncheck a completion task if necessary. I didn't see anything. Oh, there are some chats. Cool. Like, oh no, I missed that. And looked like people were trying to join in and I lost the meeting. It seemed like there was someone in the meeting that shouldn't have been in the meeting, so I do apologize on that. But this is recorded, so I'll be posting this to our YouTube channel right after this session. So definitely just go point them in the direction and have them watch this video. Feel free to chat in some questions if you haven't already. Looks like Ravi's doing a good job over there manning the questions. There's a lot in this update. Yes, there is. We are anticipating releasing this week. So we are trying to plan this webinar previous to the update. I believe that he's going to start releasing it tomorrow or the next day. So it's coming. I have another question that just came in from a guest. Is the vendor bill looking for a final invoice just for that order number or the whole job number when deciding to apply to WIP or COGS just for that order? Hi, Annette. Long time no see. Is there a way to save documents, floor plans, emails to a lead record after this update? Yes, you can save documents. Keep in mind that it is actually saving them to, so when it comes to lead records, leads are connected to contacts. So when we talk about CRM and contact management, that all kind of plays hand in hand with leads, which is a part of our CRM features. The leads are connected to contacts. So if you add a document to the lead or a floor plan or an email, it's actually attaching it to the contact. So the history is being tracked and it's there and you can save it, but it won't carry through to the project if I understand how that works correctly. Ravi, correct me if I'm wrong. I won't be sending the YouTube. Thank you, Ravi. I won't be sending the YouTube link to everyone after the meeting. It'll just be loaded on our YouTube channel, which is in all of our signatures. And if you just go to youtube.com, you can search e-manage. If you are having trouble finding it, feel free to shoot me an email, Stephanie@e-manageone.com, and I can send it over to you directly. It's fairly easy to find. Any other questions? Lots and lots in this update. So again, highly recommend that you guys share that we are coming out with an update with the rest of your team if they did not show up to this session, and make sure they watch this video. There's some features that maybe they aren't even aware of that weren't new and they want to check out. Let's see. Someone says I didn't answer their question. Is the vendor bill looking for a final invoice just for that order or the whole job? If that's the question you're asking, it's just for that order. So it's the invoice that's connected to that order and to those purchase orders. It's not looking to the whole job. So if you have multiple orders, multiple customer invoices, when you apply a vendor bill, it's applying it to an actual purchase order or acknowledgement, which is actually connected to an order. So it's all connected to each individual order, not the whole job. Hopefully that helps clarify. Yeah, and that's definitely a way to do it. The downfall of only working with projects and not using the lead feature is that you can't really use the marketing campaign feature. So that's the only downfall there. If you're just creating a project that has like the project type of lead slash opportunity, you're not able to take advantage of the marketing campaign manager, which would be not a big deal for you guys. It just depends on what kind of marketing efforts you do and how you want to track them. There's probably a workaround. Is the vendor sends acknowledgement field to be checked as default in the vendor record? Good question. It is not. So when you set up a new vendor, a company record, a new vendor, that company record form kind of changes up a bit, and you've got a whole different set of vendor settings. So with that being said, and if you guys don't already know, check out the help guide. It's in, if you go to eManage, it's in your help file. View the eManage help file. It'll open you up to a web browser here. And if you go into just vendor, if you just start typing vendor, there's actually a new vendor setup checklist that I recommend you guys check out. I love this list. I think there's a lot that we forget about when setting up a new vendor, especially if you're just letting everyone be able to set up a vendor. There's definitely some additional items that you want to think about. And so this section walks you through all the different settings. This vendor sends acknowledgements. Okay, but we do have a form that we've created as far as new vendors go. If you have someone that kind of manages vendors and only, you know, there's only a certain amount of people that are allowed to create new vendors, your salespeople or designers, whoever, can fill out this form, and it actually walks through some of these different settings that you want to kind of think about when setting up a new vendor. So will you provide acknowledgements? Yes or no? If you want to hold to this form, I believe that you can download it from here, but if for some reason you're having trouble getting that form, I can definitely send this over to you. I think that's really helpful. Uh, Lots of questions coming in. I'm loving it. Mhm. Oh, Robbie answered it. Thank you, Robbie. Someone asking if we can choose to do the update in 2 weeks instead of tomorrow. Unfortunately, no, we're going to be pushing it out to everyone unless Robbie overrides my. I don't think that we can do that. Wouldn't really be anything holding you back from just taking the update. All of these features that I'm talking about, they have to be activated in order to use them. It's not just going to automatically apply. The accrued liabilities is a feature that you can use. Everything else, inventory, that's got to be activated and set up. Everything else that I went over is all just things that wouldn't really, um, shouldn't really stop you from taking the update. Shouldn't really be anything holding you back. If you have a different concern, just let me know. But we've thoroughly tested this version. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we didn't have a third quarter update. We have been working on this for quite some time, and it's really been tested. So we released it to someone previous to you guys, and they've been working in it. So we shouldn't have any issues with this one. I say that I'm gonna eat my words later. If there's an issue, you guys know that we'll address it super quick. So just communicate with us, call into support if there are any issues with anything that comes out in the update. That's a good question. It hasn't been tested by someone in Canada. Well, oh, I take that back. Harvey tested it. He's in Canada. But by an actual dealer in Canada, no, it has not. But again, there shouldn't be anything except for the accrued liabilities. And I mean, even that, there shouldn't really be any exceptions that I can think of offhand that would affect Canada different than it would affect us in the US. Gail asked, hi, Gail. Will the accrued liabilities be activated on orders booked subsequent to the update or for all in the system? It will be activated for all. That's a really good question. I'll email you, Gail. Again, it does have to be activated. You have to activate that feature. Whether it is going to be activated against everything, regardless of if it's been booked or not previous to the update or activation of the accrued liabilities, I'm going to have to confirm that unless Bobby knows. Any other questions, comments? Okay. So yeah, Ravi says that he believes it's for any new invoices after the update, after that feature's been activated. Um, not sure I understand that. That's not great. Oh, yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah, if you don't activate that, everything just kind of stays the same, with the exception of a couple of those updates that I mentioned as far as like the looking to the final invoice type for the WIP COGS movement. That was kind of a bug in the system that's been addressed. But as far as like if you don't activate the accrued liabilities feature, everything in the system stays as is. Accounting will stay as is. I'm going to leave just a couple more minutes of the chat room open. If you don't have any more questions, I appreciate you guys coming and joining us. And I hope you guys are as excited as we are for this update. And if you have any issues at all, any further questions, can't find it in the help guide, you can reach out to me directly at Stephanie at e-manageone.com. And then, of course, you guys know support's always there for you. May pass you off to support, but I'd rather some of these like just general questions come through to me if you guys have any questions about what's happening with the update. You're welcome, Delane. All right, I'm going to stay on for just a couple minutes. Otherwise, I'll let everybody else go. Thank you for coming, and again, reach out to us if you guys need anything. Have a great holiday.